he wasn't supposed to be home until Thursday evening. His business trip was planned for 3 more days, but his meetings ended unexpectedly early. So he decided to surprise his family and come home right away. Marcus walked through his front door at 3:30 on a rainy Tuesday afternoon and heard something that stopped his heart cold. His mother's voice, weak, desperate, begging for mercy. "Please, Lauren, please? I didn't do anything, please stop." He followed the sound down the hallway, and what he saw through the crack in the door shattered everything he thought he knew about his life. His elderly mother, Evelyn, tied to a chair. Bleeding. Terrified. And standing over her was his wife. Lauren. The woman everyone in the neighborhood admired. The woman he trusted more than anyone. She raised her hand and slapped his mother across the face. "You think your precious son loves you? You're nothing but a burden waiting to die." Marcus stood frozen. Watching. Silent. But what he did next, the trap he set, the way he made his wife pay for every bruise on his mother's face, nobody saw coming. Not Lauren. Nobody. And this was only the beginning of her suffering. Hello friends, welcome to our story. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Marcus was raised by a single mother. Evelyn worked 2 jobs, sacrificed her dreams, and built her entire life around her son. When he became successful, he promised himself one thing: she would never suffer again. And then he met Lauren. Beautiful. Polite. Loved by the neighbors. Always smiling. And whenever Marcus was around, she treated Evelyn like a queen. But behind closed doors, Lauren was someone else entirely. At least, that's what Marcus would soon discover. Because for years, he believed he had the perfect life. A successful career. A beautiful home. A respected marriage. And his mother living comfortably under the same roof he had bought to repay her for a lifetime of sacrifice. Lauren would cook for Evelyn. Lauren would ask, "Mom, are you okay? Do you need anything?" Lauren would even sit beside her and hold her hand when Marcus was in the room. Sometimes Marcus would smile and think, "I chose the right woman." The neighbors admired her. His friends envied him. Even Evelyn, quiet and gentle, never complained. But there were signs. Small ones. The kind you ignore because they don't fit the picture you want to believe. Evelyn had started losing weight. She seemed nervous when Marcus left the house. She had become quieter over the past year. Marcus assumed it was old age. He had no idea it was fear. That rainy Tuesday at 3:30 p.m., when Marcus walked through the front door and heard his mother begging for mercy. That was the first time the illusion shattered. He didn't burst into the room. He didn't scream. He didn't attack Lauren. He did something far more terrifying. He stayed silent. Watching through the crack in the door. Listening. Learning. Lauren's voice was venom. "You think he loves you? He only keeps you here out of pity." Another slap. Evelyn cried like a frightened child. And in that moment, Marcus felt something inside him change. Not rage. Not panic. Cold. Calm. Calculation. Because Marcus realized something important. If he walked in now, Lauren would cry. Pretend. Lie. Manipulate. And he would have no proof. So he quietly stepped back, opened the front door loudly, and slammed it shut. "Hi. I'm home early," he called out cheerfully. Inside the hallway, Lauren froze. Marcus heard the panic in her voice instantly change into sweetness. "Oh. Marcus? You're home." He walked in smiling. Lauren was helping Evelyn up from the floor, pretending she had fallen. Evelyn couldn't even look at him. And Marcus played along. That night, Marcus didn't confront Lauren. He watched. He listened. He noticed how Evelyn trembled when Lauren entered the room. He noticed how Lauren controlled what Evelyn ate. He noticed how Lauren answered questions for her. And for the first time, Marcus realized his mother was terrified of his wife. But he said nothing. Instead, he made a phone call the next morning. "I need to take my mother to the hospital for a full checkup." Lauren's face lost color for just half a second. But Marcus saw it. The hospital room was quiet except for the soft beeping of the monitor beside Evelyn's bed. Marcus stood near the window, staring out but seeing nothing. His mind was still replaying the image of Lauren's hand striking his mother's face. A gentle knock came at the door. A man in a white coat stepped in, calm, professional, but with eyes that had clearly seen too much in his career. "This must be Marcus," he said softly. "I'm Dr. Daniel Harper. I'll be overseeing your mother's care." Marcus shook his hand quickly. "How is she?" Dr. Harper didn't answer immediately. He walked over to Evelyn's chart, reviewed it again, then looked at Marcus with a seriousness that made his stomach tighten. "Your mother is stable for now," he said. "But I need to ask you some difficult questions." Marcus felt a chill. Dr. Harper pulled a chair closer and sat down. "I've treated many elderly patients over the years. Accidents, falls, health complications, but what I'm seeing here doesn't match any of that." Marcus swallowed hard. "What do you mean?" Dr. Harper spoke carefully. "These bruises are not from a single fall. They are repeated injuries. Different stages of healing. And there's something else." He paused. Then said the words that would change everything. "I ran blood tests as a precaution. Your mother has traces of a toxic substance in her system. Small amounts. Repeated exposure over time." Marcus stared at him. "Are you saying someone poisoned her?" Dr. Harper nodded slowly. "Yes. And whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. The doses were small enough to avoid immediate detection, but large enough to cause long-term damage." Marcus's voice broke. "My wife." Dr. Harper held his gaze. "I can't make accusations. But I can tell you this is not accidental. And you need to involve the police immediately." He leaned forward slightly and added, "Marcus, if this had continued for a few more weeks, your mother might not have survived." The room went silent. And for the first time since he walked into that house earlier that day, Marcus felt fear. Not anger. Fear at how close he had come to losing his mother without ever knowing why. Marcus stepped out of Evelyn's hospital room with his phone still trembling in his hand. Dr. Harper's words echoed in his mind. Slow poisoning. Repeated abuse. Call the police. The hallway felt colder than before. A few minutes later, 2 officers walked toward him with calm, measured steps, the kind of presence that immediately makes you feel this situation is now serious, official, and real. The man in front extended his hand. "I'm Detective Samuel Ortiz. This is my partner, Detective Rachel Kim. The hospital contacted us." Marcus shook his hand, barely feeling it. Detective Ortiz studied Marcus's face carefully, not with suspicion, but with understanding. "Why don't we step over here and talk?" he said gently. They moved to a quiet corner of the corridor. Detective Kim opened a small notebook. "Tell us exactly what you saw when you came home today," she said. Marcus explained everything. The begging. The chair. The slap. Lauren's words. And how he pretended not to see. The detectives exchanged a brief glance, the kind that said this is bigger than it looks. Detective Ortiz nodded slowly. "You did the right thing by not confronting her immediately," he said. "People like this are very good at pretending. Very good at lying." Marcus whispered, "The doctor said she's been poisoning my mother." Detective Kim's expression hardened. "That changes this from abuse to attempted murder." She looked Marcus directly in the eyes. Marcus, from this moment forward, you cannot let your wife know we are involved. If she suspects anything, she'll destroy evidence, change her story, maybe even try to run. Detective Ortiz added. We need proof. Patterns. Behavior. Evidence she can't talk her way out of. Marcus nodded. What do I do? Detective Ortiz said calmly. You go home. You act normal. And you let us help you catch her. Marcus installed hidden cameras in the kitchen. In the hallway. In the living room. He told Lauren he had to travel again for 2 days. He kissed her goodbye. And he watched everything from his phone. What he saw made his blood run cold. Lauren's smile disappeared the moment his car left. She walked to Evelyn's room. And her voice changed. You really thought you could tell him, didn't you? Then Marcus saw it. Lauren mixing something into Evelyn's soup. He recorded everything. But then, he heard something worse. Lauren on the phone. Laughing. Saying. Soon both of them will be gone. And everything will be mine. Marcus realized. She wasn't just trying to kill Evelyn. She was planning to kill him too. The next morning, Marcus returned home with the police. Lauren greeted him with a smile. That smile disappeared when officers walked in behind him. She tried to cry. Tried to act confused. Until Marcus played the video. Lauren's real face filled the room. The insults. The poison. The plan. She went silent. Handcuffs clicked around her wrists. She looked at Marcus and whispered. Marcus, please, we can talk about this. But Marcus said nothing. Just like he had done the first time he saw her hurting his mother. After Lauren was arrested, the house felt strangely quiet. But Marcus wasn't relieved. Not yet. Because the police told him something important. Video evidence is powerful. But for a conviction this serious, we need a full pattern. A history. Proof this wasn't a single incident. So Marcus started remembering things he had ignored for years. The weight loss. The fear in Evelyn's eyes. The way Lauren controlled her meals. The neighbors who always said, your wife is such a kind woman to your mother. Kind. The word made Marcus sick. Detectives interviewed Evelyn gently at the hospital. At first, she was scared to speak. Not because Lauren could hurt her anymore. But because she was ashamed. Ashamed that she had hidden the abuse to protect her son's marriage. Through tears, Evelyn explained everything. How Lauren would insult her daily. How she was denied food as punishment. How the poisoning started months ago. Small powders in tea. Bitter taste in soup. And how Lauren always smiled when Marcus came home. The police collected food samples from the kitchen. Cups and plates Lauren used. Cleaning chemicals from under the sink. Lauren's phone records. Her internet search history. And what they found shocked even the detectives. Lauren had searched. How long does slow poison take to kill an elderly person? Poisons that look like food seasoning. Inheritance laws for spouse. But that wasn't the worst part. They found searches about Marcus too. How to make a death look like a heart attack. Marcus realized the truth. His wife had been planning this for a long time. Months later, the courtroom was full. Neighbors sat in the back, whispering. They couldn't believe the sweet, smiling Lauren they knew was capable of this. Lauren walked in wearing a neat dress, hair perfect, trying to look fragile. But nobody looked at her with admiration anymore. They looked at her with disgust. Marcus sat beside Evelyn, holding her hand. When Evelyn took the stand, the room went silent. Her voice trembled as she spoke. She didn't speak with anger. She spoke with pain. She described the insults. The hunger. The fear. The slaps. The poison. Some people in the courtroom wiped tears from their eyes. Then the prosecutor played the videos Marcus recorded. Lauren's voice filled the room. Cruel. Mocking. Inhuman. You're nothing but a burden waiting to die. Lauren lowered her head. For the first time, she couldn't pretend. Then came the doctor's testimony. He explained the poisoning. How Evelyn could have died within weeks. How the doses were deliberate. Calculated. Then the detective read Lauren's search history out loud. Each search like a nail in her coffin. The courtroom gasped. Finally, Marcus was called to the stand. He didn't look at Lauren at first. He looked at the judge and said calmly, I loved her. I trusted her. I brought her into my home to be family. And she tried to destroy the woman who gave me life. Then he turned and looked at Lauren. Not with anger, but with something worse. Disappointment. You didn't just hurt my mother. You destroyed any memory of who I thought you were. Lauren started crying. But no one believed the tears anymore. The judge didn't take long. Attempted murder. Elder abuse. Poisoning. Premeditated intent. Lauren was sentenced to many years in prison. As officers placed handcuffs on her again, she looked at Marcus one last time. Hoping for mercy. He gave her none. He simply turned to help Evelyn stand. And together, they walked out of the courtroom. Free. Outside the courtroom, the air felt different. Lighter. Evelyn held Marcus's arm as they walked down the steps together. Reporters called out questions, cameras flashed, but Marcus didn't stop. His focus was only on his mother. For the first time in years, Evelyn wasn't afraid. She looked up at her son and said softly, It's over. And Marcus nodded. Yes, Mom. It's over. They went home to a house that no longer felt like a prison. Lauren was gone. The silence in those rooms was no longer filled with fear, but with peace. Marcus made a quiet promise that day. No matter how busy life became, he would never ignore the small signs again. He would never assume everything was fine just because it looked fine. Because sometimes, the people we trust the most hide the darkest secrets. And sometimes, justice doesn't come from anger. It comes from patience, truth, and courage. Before you go, if you were Marcus, what would you have done the moment you saw Lauren hurting Evelyn? Would you have confronted her immediately or stayed silent and gathered evidence? Tell us in the comments, we read every single one. And if this story touched you, share it with someone who believes that karma always finds its way back. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss stories where the cruel regret it and the broken rise again.